Good night, people. I am Edip Yuksel. I came all the way from Arizona for this event, and later, God willing, in the end of the month, I will go to Oslo. It was not in my planning, but it entered, and also I will meet peacemakers over there. The preparation for this one, there was one event I prepared a lot. First time in my life, I prepared PowerPoint, and it was my last PowerPoint presentation at Princeton University. I was presenting the Peacemakers Constitution, and I found that PowerPoint created a straight jacket for me. I cannot move around. No more PowerPoints. And here it is. I had some computer stuff. Without being PowerPoint, I was going to show you. Oh, this is here, the Princeton failure. Because I couldn't catch up with time. And here it is, past that one, this is, here it is, I am hugging cactus. Listen carefully. The cactus is a peaceful plant. We see it not peaceful, but it is really indeed much peaceful than any of you. It's not aggressive on anyone's right. It's peaceful just for defense purposes. When we say defense, not like military-industrial complex. Defense means really aggression against other countries, bombing other countries. It's not euphemism, it's really defensive, but that's it. And this is Turkish, skip it. Let's see what else we have. This is semi-random stuff. And this is my family, a very peaceful family. And because it is about me and about you, everyone has family. We want to have peaceful and secure, good society. And this is Princeton. And I was in Princeton. It happened to be there is a rally for peace against racism. Okay, I joined them. In fact, before or after that, I went to Unitarian Universal Church. I gave speech there too, which I feel very comfortable at Unitarian Universal Church. Beautiful. All about universal values, about God, about charity, about helping others, about diversity. And then peace, I wrote in 5 languages that I know. Peace, Ashiti is Kurdish, Barış is Turkish, Selam is in Arabic, Shalom is in Hebrew, and Salam is in Arabic. Oh, Salam, this is the Turkish one, another Turkish one. Okay? And this was a Trump guy. Go back. This guy was going to run for an office. He was saying Trump, Pence. We were against this guy, and he appeared to be there, peaceful coexistence. And then at the end, I had an interview with him. It was fantastic. Go. Okay, these are, we put together these in many languages, Barış. I know this is not what you are looking for here. Pass. Okay, this is the announcement for this one. Pass. Okay, this is before the conference. This gentleman's home, I stayed there. These kids were very fantastic kids, they were just like bees. They thought I was a flower with a lot of nectar, with orange color. They were all around me, therefore I didn't prepare much because of this. This I'm preparing for this one. Skip. This is at Oxford University. We had a conference, Critical Thinkers for Islamic Reform. We had 2 conferences here. I was the organizer, and here are my fellow community leaders, academics, and troublemakers around the world, and heretics. And do you have anything else to show us? Okay, this was in fact the announcement for my conference at University of North Carolina, and this was the title of the conference. I kept the title for this one because it fits this one too, and I put this address. Go ahead, do you have anything else? Perhaps not. This is an interesting one. This is first time in my life I raised my middle finger. I'm a Puritan since childhood. I never use 4-letter cuss words in any language, including English and Turkish and Kurdish and Persian. However, first time in my life, I raised my middle finger. It was at European Parliament when I had a speech about 20-30 minutes. The last minute of it, I had to do this one. There is a video there. Show that video to these people because I want to start. This is a warming up. Which one is the video? Do you see the? No. No. Hold on. Is this one? No, no, this is not. Okay, you don't have any. Don't you have a video there? Go down there. Maybe the video is down. Go down a little bit more down. No video. Okay. Do you have internet access?
Yes.
Okay. I have it there. I may have it. Okay. Go internet. Okay, that's good. No problem.
Oh, no.
You can check. I had it later. You can find it there. In the last minute, I said this. I said, in fact, I did it. It was not a figure of speech, made up speech. I printed out, I wrote down the wars, covert and overt operations, military operations done by the United States in the last 150 years, from Wounded Knee until that year. It was 2012, And I said, if you write down the list of military operations, covert or open or wars, waged by the United States in Roman times Roman in 9 points, one line for each event, if you list them, it will be 5 times longer than my middle finger. It is a very long, bloody list. Now, you may close that one and here it is. We are talking about terrorism. The paper I gave you, I will go over that test because that test by itself is an eye-opening test. When we say terror, we are talking about little gangs that kill 1,000th of governments. And these gangs, when we look at them, they are created, they are the very side production of the state terror. Let me repeat it again. The real elephant in the room, the real terrorists in the room, are the governments that are hijacked by military industrial complexes, by multinational corporations who have no respect for the life of the children of the poor, which they use. They send the children of the poor to kill the children of the poor in other countries. At the end, they make big broad profits. They become heroes, and the world become insecure place for most of the people. Look around, 100 years, how many millions killed? Do you think people, when they are killed by military weapons, by bombs dropped from the aeroplanes, they are dying deliciously? They are dying happily? Aren't they terrorized, don't you think, those cities? If I ask you what is the biggest terrorist act in last centuries, most of you will say 9/11. No, come on, don't be ridiculous. It was Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Why we are so duped? Why we are so distracted? Because they have a game. The game is to distract us with this, and meanwhile to wage their wars with impunity, to scare us, to plunder our resources, to pollute our land, to pollute our ocean, to pollute our air, and meanwhile make money from pollution. Sell us water, sell us organic, and tomorrow they will sell us air in the bag, and they are happy. It is greed. Once I read an article in Times Magazine in 2008. It was after I went to China with my younger son, who just this year graduated from Princeton in economics. It was 2 or 3 weeks full of observation to details. Chinese cultures, Chinese food, Chinese politics, architecture, everything. And then afterwards, when I came home to US, I was very interested in articles about China. And this article was an interview by Times reporter with Walmart's international operation manager, director. And one of the question and answer was sobering, was alarming. The audacity of capitalists, the audacity of corporate manager, director, CEO. The reporter asked the question, say, in Walmart stores there, I saw some food material, some snacks, which you cannot sell in the United States because they are not healthy, because they are poisonous. FDA, Food and Drug Administration, made those illegal. Why you are doing this in China, in your Chinese stores? Without a beat, missing a beat. He says, well, no problemo. If they get fat, obese, no problem. We'll open up shelves, we'll sell dietary foods, how to lose weight. We'll make money from there too. This is the mind of corporations work. I have a list of 9 beasts that contribute to the so-called terrorism. And you will be focusing, you will be led by the media controlled by them. You will be led to focus only 1 and 2 of them, but they are so masterfully successful in hiding the big elephants and monsters in your midst, and you support them. You go ask help from the real monster that create that small monster. I have no sympathy with terrorists. I am myself, my life was threatened when I questioned the traditional Sunni and Shiite sects, when I rejected the religion of my father and mother and the religion of my readers. I was best-selling author in Turkey. In age 27, I was a hero that time in the eyes of Islamists. Tayyip Erdogan and his entourage, Davutoglu, they were my friends. They were below in ranks. But at that time when I realized there is major theological, philosophical problem with the religion I was promoting, I was putting my life at risk. My brother was killed because of that. I entered the prison. I endured years of torture. In fact, I secretly went to Iran, invited by the Iranian Revolution, 1 year after revolution, as representative of Turkish youth, how to import the revolution to Turkey. And all those things I had to reject. When I did my life, I expected, of course. I wrote in the back of my 2nd volume of Interesting Questions, I said, questioning dogmas is like splitting atom. It's not easy, challenging dogmas. And I know the cost of it will be excommunication, losing my career, my future, my family, and perhaps risking my life. But I have 2 choices. Either remain as a hypocrite, have best-selling books, get promoted in politics, or be truthful to yourself, take all the risks. I did that. And of course, I found myself in the headlines of the religious newspapers and later in the secular media as an apostate, as a heretic, and needs to be killed. My father was the first one, rejected me, and in the public, he wrote articles against me. And then I found myself on the street. Literally. I had to hide myself, and they wanted to kill me. I hid myself for 6 months in a secret compartment, like a cell, in an apartment. And I didn't have fear of death. I had just the problem why I cannot speak up. They collected my books. They chastised the gangs who were admiring me, who would join in my rallies. In 1 hour, at any point in Istanbul, I could gather several thousand young men. But all those, they turned against me within very short time. And, but they banned my books. And in fact, with the money I had, I used to never respect money still the same way, inherited from my father. I would always distribute the money to come from my book sales. But I had still some money left. I printed my book. I established a publishing house myself. I printed it. They stole it from printing house. These are all recorded in the media. They wrote about this. And then I found out that I cannot speak up my mind, but they can distort my words. They can slander me in the public. I cannot respond them. I had to immigrate, and I went to the United States. The best decision I made in my life. I am in a free country which I can say Donald Trump is dumb and idiot, which is not an insult, it's a statement of fact. And he's corrupt, and he's a thief, and he's racist, unfortunately. But that's the beauty, that I'm in a country where I can express myself. Now, therefore, don't misunderstand me. I am the most critic of Sunnis, Shiites, the theology that breeds ISIS. But ISIS is not created by that theology alone. In fact, that theology is pretty in the line, is not even secondary, it comes in the third category of causes. And I would like to go about that. Let me, as I told you, okay. Before starting those 9 things, I want to a little bit give some experiences I have. Because those experiences leads me to be a passionate advocate of peace. I know when I say peace, some people hear, my gosh, this guy is so loud. He's not talking like a Buddhist. He's not kind of smiling and peaceful. But if you see the war zone, if you see when bombs fall, how people's bodies are maimed, how people die in pain, how those who survive, they survive in pain, losing their limbs, their eyes, their children, or their father, or their mother in front of them. War is where Satan, devil dances. There is no love, there is no mercy, there is no justice, no children, no discrimination. Raping women, doing all horrendous things that you have in the list is done in the war. Everything evil is justified. But we are people as if we are hypnotized, mesmerized, zombified. We are not standing against this bloody military machine. Because our governments are hijacked by a minority group who care less about justice, about human life, about dignity. And therefore I came here to warn you, to bother you. Like Ali Shariati, how many of you remember, I know Ali Shariati, he was an Iranian intellectual. I love him, great guy. He was killed before reaching 40. I came to bother you. Not only bother you, I came also to give you good news. Because I do believe that maybe first time in history there's possibility that people like you who are subject of, I don't think here billionaire, there is a billionaire or a warmonger politician here among us. Most of you will be victim in a war. You'll be paying money, and if there is war, your children or yourself, either you'll be drafted to the war, or the bomb will fall on you. The others, they will have good places to hide themselves. To warn you, and also it is a good time, first time in history, that people like you will have a chance to change this bloody system. That's only possible not to work locally. The bloody military-industrial complex and the multinational corporations which create the ecology of the conflict, invasions and wars, they are, of course, they would like to distract you through certain events, lies, and scare you through using the word terror, but showing the wrong address. I want to go back about my experiences, because I know I'm jumping from one to another. What made me to become very passionate about this. And we need to transcend the borders created for us, in front of us, by those people who manipulate, who hijack our governments, and also the religious clergymen or other propaganda machine which they use. They are our colors, our ethnic background, our languages, basically nationality or ethnic background, and also religion. These are not really serious division among humans. You see people with different color, you see you have so much commonality. You see people from different colors, you will see you have similar aspirations, similar concerns, similar life. And therefore, we need to break those walls. We cannot fight against this machine while we are enclosed in walls and fighting with each other. Therefore, a peace movement, I am going to invite you to a peace movement. A peace movement needs to be transcending national borders, like multinational corporations do, like military-industrial complex do. And in order to do that, we need to unite our voices. We need to learn about what is done. I give you one example. The United States budget, more than 1/4 of it goes to military. Just this year, Pentagon got $700 billion with B. That's not all. 250 extra billion is called for covert operations. Adds up to $950 billion, almost $1 trillion. It will be even passing the trillion when there are other side effects. Now, this is more than 1/4 of the budget. It's taken from the food of the children, from health care of the poor people, from homeless people, from infrastructure. It is invested in what? How to kill people, how to destroy cities. And guess what? That industry begets wars and conflicts. If there is none, we'll create. Because it's a perpetual machine. It runs on blood. The wheels run on blood. When there's no blood, it will stop, they will go bankrupt. Let me give you a few names. The biggest terrorist organizations. And United States spends more than 9 of other countries, close countries, in military. And of course UK too. But United States by far is the biggest one. I'm going to give you some big terrorist organizations, which in fact their weapons, some of their weapons, trickle down to those small gangs. But these are the real ones causing those gangs. And we'll talk about what causes ISIS. When we go to it, I'm not going to tell you a story. I will give you facts. You will recognize those facts. Airbus Group, Netherlands, which is not in top, in high. Boeing corporations that makes airplane at the same time makes big weapons. Blackwater, XE. BAE Systems, United Kingdom. DynCorp, General Dynamics. These are the enemies of humanity. Honeywell, Halliburton, Hughes, L3 Communications, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman. Their names even are funny. Rafael Development Corp, Raytheon, Roxwell, Textron, Titan Corp, TRW Inc., USAMIC, Vinyl Group, anyway, many. And they are multi-billion-dollar corporations. You don't hear their name among the terrorist organizations. They make money from killing people, from creating wars. And they are in cahoots with the congressmen, with the senators. They bribe them. Like war in Iraq against Iraq. What was it? Because Bin Laden attacked the United States. Bin Laden was from where? Saudi Arabia. 15 out of 19 hijackers in 9/11, they were Saudis. And we end up attacking Iraq. And there was a lie. The biggest, the loudest lie I have heard. The weapon of mass destruction. Every politician would say in the United States. In the media, the weapons of mass. The more you repeat, Hitler's propaganda minister Goebbels says, if you repeat a lie enough time, people will believe it. And make it big, as big possible. Weapons of mass destruction. Big lie and repeat. They exactly follow that. And people start being scared of Saddam Hussein. In fact, Saddam Hussein was American-created monster. Rumsfeld, the guy who is behind this, Dick Cheney, and Bush and other neocons, they were giving him weapons and chemical weapons to kill Iranians, which, according to round numbers, 1 million Iranian, 1 million Iraqis lost, about 2 million young men lost their lives. They were not Americans, not English. They were Iraqis, they were Iranians. And 100,000 Kurdish people were gassed to death, 5,000 of them in Halabja. Not all of them gassed to death, but at least. In fact, he believed it, but perhaps he wanted a public also admission of this gift from the United States. And the United States did that one. I followed the news very carefully that time. And United States ambassador in Kuwait, the reporters, they asked him, they say the satellites show that Saddam is mobilizing his military towards Kuwait. He might be thinking, planning to invade Kuwait. What do you think? What did he say? He said it's not our business. Saddam, who privately got this promise that his patron, which he was serving, really indeed, he was honest, sincere in his promise regarding Kuwait. Here it is. To the world, the ambassador says it's not our business. And then he invaded. Boom. United States says, who are you? You are invading. Kuwait, we are going to save Kuwait. Saudi Arabia is under risk, danger. And then you see Saudi Arabia first time got United bases, military bases from the United States. There was a theater stage. People in the region were scared by Saddam, who is monster out of control. And then Israel advertising new missiles, smart missiles. You see in the media, there is smart missiles and protecting, creating a shield. And at the same time, while this theater is going on, United States in one sales sold $3 billion worth of weapons, military weapons to Saudi Arabia. Weapons that Saudi soldiers could not use. They're not educated, they're not trained. And American soldiers were hired by Saudi Arabia, obscene amount of salaries paid for them to maintain American weapons in Saudi Arabia. That was the plan. The plan was to advertise weapons, new weapons, to sell weapons, and to come to the Middle East, which they couldn't come before, to Saudi Arabia, to come as a savior from this monster. The monster that was created by them, that was motivated, that was led by them. This is a simple trick. But majority of people, unfortunately, do not see. This is obvious. I'm not telling you a conspiracy theory. These are everything in media. Go back, look at archive. It's not secret. Now, that's interesting. I'm talking where? This is the British Parliament, correct? Did you take people's picture faces, whether they are scared now? Huh?
Usually,
You don't know?
it's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Somebody fine, no worries.
Okay. I think that first time we have a chance through communication and through also realization that there is something going on in our governments. First time I got hope in the United States. I have been there for 30 years. First time I hear there is a guy, a cranky old man called Sanders. He's talking, criticizing capitalism, first time that I never heard in the media. For example, I am friends with Chomsky, Noam Chomsky, but you don't see Chomsky in the media. Censored. One of the greatest political geniuses. But you don't see really the real dissent at the stage. You see talking head as if they are opposite parties. No, they are all serving the same power, the same oligarchy. And first time I see Sanders talking about certain things that I never heard. And I see now the youth who is able, some of them are really lost, but some of them woke up and through communication, and they see there is something big trouble, that their government is hijacked by interest groups. And first time maybe we'll be able to unite our force. I don't believe that it can be achieved locally, but globally, if we ignore our colors, if we ignore our made-up stupid religions, forgive me, but most of the religions I do believe is made up by clergymen to control, to fool, to use people for those who are controlling, politicians. Therefore, if we use our minds, our reasons, keep our religions for ourselves, because faith, if you say faith, you believe it. Why do you believe that? Well, I believe it. Well, I don't believe it. Give me a good reason to believe like you. If you cannot, as long as you cannot give good reason what you believe in, that, keep it for yourself. Don't impose on me your unreasonable beliefs. Therefore, as long as we keep our religious faith or lack of faith for ourselves and recognize our humanity, and this world is a small planet, and we cannot handle another world war. We cannot handle this conflict, this so-called terrorism, these wars. And therefore, I invite you to get to know each other, be a leader in your community. I say a leader, not like Donald Trump, not like Erdogan, not like Putin, arrogant megalomaniac leader. Be a servant leader. Educate yourself about your government, educate yourself about global events, listen to different opposite points of view, and then come together with people like you and try to create this movement. And how it will happen, I don't know, but I do believe that we have all the duty and reason. I want to go over a few of these points and then I will leave it for questions. The 9 points that I listed here, the first one is culture of violence. The culture of violence is the one that begets, that recruits soldiers or terrorists. And this culture of violence through media has entered our homes, through games, video games. When you see your child or your brother, if you are young, playing video games, enjoying killing another human being, there is evil there. He is a good prospect. He has good prospect to become a soldier, to really kill other people, or a terrorist to go kill other people too. When the video games, violent video games became popular many years ago, about 15 some years ago, that time I wrote an article, I said, I bet, I have no information, but I bet military industrial complex Pentagon is supporting this. At that time there was any public admission, any information that Pentagon was supporting these violent video games. But based on reasoning, I wrote that some people laughed at me, Edip, you are making up conspiracy. No, I said, this is absolutely logical, connecting the dots. And later, guess what? Millions and millions of dollars Pentagon was paying to video game makers in order to create violent videos. Because they spend a lot of money to recruit the children of the poor. And if they are primed since childhood to kill, to enjoy killing virtually, they will be thinking that it is glorious, it is fun to kill another human being with bigger weapons, real weapons. And they did. And therefore violence, culture of violence is one contributor. In fact, ISIS recruited many members by using these videos, these special effect, war scenes and killing scenes. And second, consumerism, capitalism and imperialism. In other words, invasion, exploitation and enslavement. For example, we consume capitalist society so much, we need resources, well, we finish our resources here, or we are too greedy, we want to keep it longer, and there is resources in Afghanistan or in Africa, we need to invade there, either through a dictator or we cannot find a reason, an excuse to invade that country. Just like give you one example. The auto industry in the United States is powerful, was powerful, much more powerful. Ford, Dodge, so many. And they hijacked the government, means they were buying legislators. When there was a bill regarding public transportation, they scared them with spending their money against them during election campaign, or not giving them money, or by bribing them with carrot and stick. They bribed them and scared them, and they didn't. Therefore, you don't have much public transportation in the United States, because if there was public transportation, they couldn't sell so much cars. For their own greedy interest, they deprived Americans from the convenience, the economy, the saving of public transportation. They polluted the air more. Meanwhile, Americans became more dependent on oil. Well, it's a scarce commodity. In order to get oil, we need to invade those countries or install stooges like Saudi kings, like Shah, like these dictators in that environment, which breeds a society unhappy and angry. And then terrorism. And invasion in Afghanistan. Look at terrorists. Where did they come from? Let me tell you. Tamil Tigers. It was invasion in Singapore of Tamil nation. Their language was banned, and ethnic group, they were oppressed, and they were oppressed. And they were the one first used suicide attacks. And they were not religious, they were not Muslim, Christian, they were Marxists, atheists. And look at Taliban. And where did they come from? Afghanistan. It was invaded by Russia, and then United States. Before Russia, it was British. Invasion. What do invaders do? Invaders oppress, invaders exploit, invaders kill, sometimes torture. And those people, what they become? They become animals, they become hypocrites, they become angry, and they explode. And they did. And Iraq, goodness sake, 1 million people killed. Why we are not talking about 1 million people? Why we are talking about 3,000 people killed in the United States, which every life is important, is like all humanity, which is verse in the Quran. Killing one person unjust is like killing all humanity. But we are not talking about 1 million people there, which is like 15 million in the United States compared to the population. And Syria, United States, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey smuggled weapons and militants to Syria in order to create the civil war bigger and bigger and bigger. And ISIS emerged out of these bloody invasions and covert and overt operations that done by this government. Or comes from Palestinians who explode themselves. Well, what about those tanks exploding over people's houses? Those bombs coming, exploding on people's houses, on schools. We never called American soldiers terrorists who killed daily, or drones around the world. They kill many civilians, many children, many even people in wedding. We don't call American military as terrorists. They are honorable people, heroes. Or Saudis. In Yemen alone, they kill 10,000 civilians. We don't call them terrorists. They are states. We never called Serbian genocide as Christian terrorists. They were Christians, they were fighting Muslims, Bosnian Muslims. They killed many of them, massacred. Did you hear they were called Christian terrorists? No. In Norway, the guy, Christian, newborn Christian, he killed about 70 or 80, 90 children. Huh? What is it? Okay, change it. Put your finger under it. I'm finished in 5 minutes. And we never called him Christian terrorist. Correct? Or Buddhist terrorists, like in Rohingya, they are killing Muslims in thousands, and they are right now 500,000 escaped from genocide. And we are not talking about Buddhist terrorists, Christian terrorists, or Jewish terrorists. In 2014, just give you a number. In 2014, Israel is saying that Hamas, Palestinians are attacking peanut-sized rockets. They are talking about thousands of rockets from their coming. Let me tell you the numbers, real numbers. Check it. Don't trust me. 2,000 Palestinians killed by Israel. 500 of them children. Many schools were attacked despite United Nations giving the coordinates of those schools don't hit. 2,000 Palestinians, 500 of them being children, most of them civilian killed in 2014. How many Israelis killed? 3. 1 civilian, and I'm not sure whether he got heart attack while there was theater and sirens and scaring and stuff. An old man died, and 2 soldiers while they were killing on killing spree. And what was the Western world's reaction to this? All American senators, congressmen, including Barack Obama, who supposedly got Peace Prize, they sent their condolences to Israel for 2 soldiers lost their lives against terrorists attacking people. Who was attacking? Who is the invader? Who killed 2,500 of them being children? It was Israel. But Israel became victim. 500 children were the terrorists. The homeless people, the people who were in concentration camp, who do not have tanks, jets, weapons of mass destruction, Palestinians, they were doomed as terrorists. But the real terrorist was victim. That's the propaganda machine, how it works. Therefore, if you don't need much information, if you have little courage and conscience, you need to stand against this. Because tomorrow your turn will come. In fact, now came. What goes around comes around. Why ISIS is exploding here? Why we are not looking what caused that? We are causing that. We created this monster because we are biggest monster. I am not the fan of the Muslim world. They are backward. They are in basically miserable life they are living in. They have dictators. But when I look at the picture, the Western world with smiling face, vitamins, great sophisticated weapons, can fly, push the button, destroy the whole city, come as a smiling hero. You don't see the picture of the people maimed there. But those who do not have these sophisticated weapons to kill and be able to hide, or smart enough to hide, or not smart, clever enough to hide their things, they go cut heads and stuff, stupid things to show. And finish up, military-industrial complex, the third cause, plutocracy, big corporations affect domestic and foreign policies with money and blood. 5, identity problem. If there are certain terrorists come here, they have identity problem because they are not integrated, either they are discussed or alienated. It creates anger and identity issues. And of course 6 is anger when they see the Western world is doing all these atrocities, but still preaches the world about human rights, about democracy. They see the big lie and hypocrisy. And 7, dictatorship and corruption. It is of course their responsibility not to accept dictators, but also the Western world supports the dictators and corruption. And 8, misogynistic religious teachings and traditions. The Sunni teaching and Shia teaching is full of misogyny and violence. However, those violent teachings existed for centuries. They were not killing like this, somehow. And the same teachings you see in Old Testament. If I see some verses from the Old Testament, and you will see. And here it is. Joshua and his men utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both men and women, young and old, ox, sheep, and ass, with the edge of the sword. Joshua chapter 6, 20-21. Or another verse. Now go and smite Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both men and women, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 3. Another one. Israel's God will direct his jealous anger against Babylonians, Chaldeans, Pekah. I don't know how to spell this, pronounce this name. I'm stopping it. It is Ezekiel chapter 23, verse 25. It is there. But they are not right now advertising this. But some Jewish people I am absolutely not categorizing Jewish people or Arab people or this. It is not, because there are some Jewish people are fantastic, great humans. They have great heart conscience, and some are not. The same with Arabs, the same with any ethnic group. But at this time, it is the political system does sometimes a group of people. It's not because of the race, because of the conditions. Therefore, my criticism is not directed to any race. Racism is evil that divides us, hurts us. Anyway, it is there, but they are not talking about this. But these people, right now, they bring those teachings, violent teachings in hadith books, in jurisprudence book to life because of the ecology conditions that led them to do. And I want to stop here. I would like to go on terrible terrorist test, but perhaps I don't need to. I leave the questions. Did I take too much time? Yes. Okay. Lovely.